Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to do my segments on looking at the White Scars Codex supplement. So this is, I think, our sort of first supplements you are seeing in 8th edition. You can maybe consider things like Vigilis, which had, Black Legion rules and everything as well, and they are sort of a supplement to them because you've got additional rules, and you get a sort of similar idea when it does come to the White Scars and Ultramarines supplements are coming, as well as other ones as well. Overall, pretty good in terms of what you get within them. You get a whole bunch of lore, so if you are into White Scars, you're going to learn a lot. Some artwork that looks really, really nice. We then get onto the rules. Now, in terms of units, you only have two, Corsair Khan himself, along with Khan on bike. But then it's also the additional parts into it, which is the Lightning Assault, which is fantastic. Warlord Traits, so you have 6 additional to choose from. Relics of Trigoris, could have merged that, which gives you more relics, but you also have special issue war gear, which is interesting. It was not in the Space Marine Codex, but a whole bunch there, giving you a total of 15 relics to choose from. Whole bunch of stratagems, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16, about 17. You've then got their own psychic abilities, which is really interesting seeing that one, and then tactical objectives as well. So let's go into the units in itself, because that's what I want to speak about. So units are first in the Codex, and only 2 there. Corsair Khan and Primaris form, and Khan on bike. So let's speak about Primaris Corsair. Now, this does not have an option for a bike. That's the first thing to mention here. If you want that, you need to go to the index, and obviously it will not be part of Primaris. What Primaris does give him is an extra wound and an extra attack, which is fine, but obviously we miss the bike. Probably the main change on it, other than the obvious Primaris changes, is Moonfang. So Moonfang previously, I think, was Strength user, -3 AP and D3 damage. It is now Strength +2 for Strength 6. And when resolving attack made with this weapon against a character unit, you can reroll the wound roll and you can reroll the damage roll. Previously, it was double your strength when fighting a character. So in terms of that one, I think that's a big improvement. Why? +2 strength means that against general units, things like toughness 4, etc., you're going to actually be a lot better. So that's good in that part. The rest of it's about the same when it comes to general ones. When it comes against character now, having ×2 strength meant that a lot of things you were going to be wounding on 2s, etc. if they're toughness 4. But this one allows you to reroll wounds, and more importantly, the damage. So it means that your damage can possibly be more reliable, but the reroll wounds makes you very reliable in on itself. Most things at strength 6 you're going to probably wound characters. Most of them are like toughness 4, 5, maybe 6. So I think that's going to result in a heck of a lot of wounds in itself. So reroll wounds and, more important, reroll damage, I think that is a huge improvement. For the Khan, it has changed as well. Previously, I think that was +1 strength for attacks made with melee weapons by models and friendly White Scars units that have made a charge move or performed a heroic intervention. Now, within 6 inches of Corsair, now it's gone up to just +1 2 wounds, which is infinitely better than +1 strength. Reason being is obviously sometimes strength will not matter, but the +1 wound will always matter. So that's really good to have that as a very, very solid improvement there as well. In terms of the bird, Anzog, which I believe is on there as well, when this model is chosen to shoot in the shooting phase, you can select one enemy unit that is not a vehicle within 12 inches. Roll a d6 and a 4 suffers a mortal wound. Fine, but not great. Not something I would really write home about. In general, huge improvement, and around about 10 points more than previously. Overall fine, but without a bike I feel this is a missed opportunity. Though Primaris Marines don't have access to bikes yet. Corsair screams with being a White Scar, mobility is key in this edition, that it was just asking to have it. I mean, I believe the name of his bike before was called Moondraken. I could be wrong. And I think that's a bit of a wasted opportunity. Even if he was riding with basic Marines, he could have been an example of them, or riding on a more Primaris bike, wherever that might be, and could have been a real interesting one. I just think what you want in White Scars, you want these fast bikes, maybe jump infantry, etc. It just hurts me a wee bit on that one, and I really would have liked to see him on bike. I think it's an improvement nonetheless, but the bike would have been really nice. However, and this is probably, we're going to go into a lot of this unit in detail, but later on as we go into other things, is the cannon bike. This is sort of your replacement, though you can use a captain on bike, but the cannon bike is the other option. So let's go into it. Can spear is the main change on it. So you've got a twin bolt gun, can spear, frag and crack grenade. So what does the can spear do? The can spear is strength user, so strength 4, minus 3 AP and D3 damage. However, when resolving an attack made with this weapon in the turn in which the bearer made a charge move or performed heroic intervention, the strength characteristic is ×2. So that brings you strength 8, which on the charge, and I believe White Scars you can just fall back and recharge, is quite nasty. So I think that gives you a very reliable way, unless you are charged yourself, to get strength 8, which is very important in this edition. And there is ways to make it better, but we'll go into that later. Angels of Death, yep. Rites of Battle, yep, we all know. The other one that's a bit of an addition is Buckler. When resolving attack made with a melee weapon against this model, add 1 to saving throw. Invulnerable saves cannot be affected. So you've got your Iron Hail for 4-up invul, and Snowstorm Shield, which I believe the Captain bike can get, but that does give you a 2-up save, which is good on itself. May not affect the invul, but 2-up save really in melee is going to be really quite nice to have. Yeah, so solid unit overall. Let's go into the general rules. So we're going into obviously Lightning Assault. So here comes the rules. So it appears the Lightning Assault, as long as every unit in your army is White Scar or successor except unaligned, again promoting it appears, you know, to not be alliances. You know, I don't know if the reward for taking allies is taken away, you know, maybe if you take other Space Marine, well in this one you have to be White Scars essentially. But essentially you get a bonus for being all White Scars. Maybe you mix up some of the Marines, you will not get this one. Go all White Scars, you're going to get an extra rule. This is very much in terms of like the combat doctrines. Top combat doctrines for Space Marines now only apply, as far as I'm aware, if you take no allies other than servitors or unaligned. So no Knights, no Custodes, no Astra Militarum, you get combat doctrines. If you then go, I'm going to be all White Scars on top of it, you get an additional rule. What is that additional rule? It's Devastating Charge. That sounds like an old universal rule to me. While the Assault Doctrine is active when resolving, when the Assault Doctrine is active, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this ability in a unit that made a charge move or heroically intervened, this turn add 1 to damage characteristic of that weapon for this turn. So that can be quite nice in on itself. It's very similar to Space Wolves, which is +1 to hit and when they charge, or were charged, and Blood Angels when they charge or were charged they get +1 to wound. A bit more restrictive though, because you only get it when you actually charge or did heroic intervention, and you need to be in the Assault Doctrine, so you have to wait, unless you use stratagems, you have to wait 2 turns to get down there. So turn 3 onwards, if you're in Assault Doctrine, you can take advantage of it. Still, there might be times when that extra damage comes in useful, and I'm going to talk about ways where it can. But essentially, I don't find it as strong as, say, Space Wolves and Blood Angels. I think they're infinitely better. I personally think that the Blood Angels one is better. Many people disagree with me on that one, because I think augmenting wounds is a lot better than augmenting hits, unless your opponents make you go up and down. Augment wounds is harder to do. But this is White Scars we're speaking about. Overall, more damage can be good and can be quite deadly given the proper application. Next up, we're going to speak about Warlord Traits. So I'm going to highlight some of the key ones here. Now you get 6 more Warlord Traits, which is good, because I found the Space Marine ones to be rather lackluster. The key ones to find here is Chogren's Storm, which is if this Warlord makes a charge move or performed heroic intervention, D3 extra attacks. Simple, easy, fairly good. Master Rider, reroll charge, essentially, yep. Biker only if you're randomly, biker only, and if you generate it then you have to reroll if you're not a biker. Essentially, when a charge roll is made for this Warlord, you can reroll the dice. When resolving an attack against this Warlord, subtract 1 from the hit roll if your Warlord advanced in the previous movement phase. You know, that extra charge and a bit more survivability is nice, it's okay. But the one I really like is Hunter's Instinct. When resolving an attack made by this Warlord against an enemy monster or vehicle unit, add 1 to hit and wound rolls. So why do I think this is nice? When attacking vehicles and monsters, you get +1 to hit and wound. This can be really nice. Think of it. Charge with cannon bike, hit on a 2+, rerolling 1s. So even if there is an augment, you're still going to be rerolling in 2s unless it's -2. Strength 8 on the charge, which is beautiful. +1 to wound, so say you charge a knight, you're going to be wounding on 3s. Anything that's toughness 7, you're going to be wounding on 2s, which is really, really good. And then due to devastating charge, if you're in the assault doctrine, you're going to get +1 to your damage. So you're going to put out D3 +1 damage. So that's quite scary in itself. It's mainly the wound that makes that really, really good. But add on devastating charge, I mean, 2-step reroll 1s, even at -1. Wounding most things on 2s or 3s is excellent in itself, and D3 +1 damage if you're in Devastator Assault Doctrine. I think that's the beginning of a really, really quite devastating charge. Keep in mind, Shock Assault should bring you, I believe, to 5 attacks with Cannon Bike. So yeah, I quite like that one. If I was going to go a hurting one, it may only work on monsters or vehicles, but when you do want to do that multiple damage, that's mainly the guys you probably want to go for. So I think that's quite good. Lastly, Master of Snares. When an enemy unit within 1 inch of this warlord is chosen to fall back, you can roll 1d6 on a 4+, that unit can't fall back. So you can't fall back? Nope, you're staying in combat, we're going to have another go of it. You're then going to fall back and then recharge again because you're White Scars. Relics, go on to them. So relics, there's 15 more potential relics to choose from for the White Scars, though 8 of them are considered special issue war gear, which is the same, some of them, I think about 3 or 4 are the same as Ultramarines and probably maybe the same as other ones. But it's interesting to see that this is not in like the general codex. I mean, you've got Adamantine Mantle, Artificer Armour, Mastercrafted Weapon, Digital Weapons. These are things that you'd maybe think they would be in the general Space Marine Codex, but nonetheless they're added into the White Scars and Ultramarines. But there's plenty of other choices to choose from, and I'm going to speak about them in a bit of a moment. So let's go into them. The Hunter's Eye. At the start of your shooting phase, you can select one friendly White Scars unit within 6 inches of a model from your army with this relic. Till the end of phase, when resolving an attack made with ranged weapons by a model in that unit, the target does not receive the benefit of cover to its saving throw. Sometimes you're going to want to shut down cover. Yep, very handy. Wrath of the Heavens. So Wrath of the Heavens, biker model only. A model with this relic has a move characteristic of 16, so 2 extra inches. In the movement phase, that move can move. That model can move over other models and trains if they weren't there. Sometimes handy to jump over stuff, get over them. Nice, not bad. I like the idea of having a better bike, so yeah, cool. Maybe your cannon might like it. Next up we have the Plume of Plains Sailor, Plains Runner. When an advanced roll or charge roll is made for friendly White Scars infantry models within 6 inches of model from your army with the relic, add 1 to the result. Yeah, not bad, okay. One I will speak on that David thought was good, but I'm going to say it's not, is the Glaive of Vengeance. Models equipped to the can spear only, and he sort of agreed towards me on that one as well. This relic replaces the can spear and has the following profile. Melee, ×2 strength, and AP -3 D3 damage. Now that is a pretty solid stat, but why do I think it's not worth spending a relic on? The -3 AP and D3 damage are the same as the can spear either way, and the ×2 strength means that you're just getting ×2 strength no matter what. But you get that when you charge as White Scars, and considering how you can fall back and recharge as White Scars, I'm 90% sure that's the case. I'm not going to, if I'm wrong in that one, I'm very, very sorry. I've really messed up, but I think that's what comes from their chapter tactic, and I've now got full doubt in me thinking I got it wrong. But you're going to be charging a lot either way as White Scars. That's what you kind of want to do in this one. And I'm like, I'm going to benefit from that ×2 either way, and then if you fall back, charge again, cool, you're getting it either way. That's the only benefit, is that you're ×2 strength all the time. So it's mainly when you are charged. I think there's better war gear out there that can benefit. And where do I think that one is? It's going to be in the special issue war gear. So there's some nice options here, pretty okay ones. But the one I think is good here is the Master Crafted Weapon. When you give a model this relic, select one weapon from that model is equipped with. This cannot be a model whose profile includes the word Mastercrafted. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of that weapon. This weapon is considered to be a chapter relic. So, Mastercrafted weapon. The can spear in itself is quite deadly. You know, on the charge you're going to be strength 8, -3 AP, D3 damage. Add on devastating charge, you are then going to be D3 +1 damage. Add on the Hunter's Instinct against monsters and vehicles, you're +1 to hit and to wound. Add on Mastercrafted Weapon, you are going to be D3 damage +1 at all times, and then in the assault doctrine, you're going to be on the charge. You're going to be D3 +2 damage, and you're going to get against vehicles and monsters, which was something that could do 5 damage piece. D3 +2 is nothing to, minimum of 3, maximum 5. Is you're going to be taunting down vehicles and monsters either way. I feel that's a bit good, on the shock assault. I think you get 5 attacks in itself. That's a bit good. That could be all right. I've told it to David, and I might regret it because I think he's like, yeah, cannon bike. That sounds good. D3 +2 damage. Yeah, Ross, that sounds good. So that's the kind of combination I'm going for. There is a Warlord trait of Hunter's Instincts and Mastercraft Weapon on the cannon bike. D3 damage +2 on the assault doctrine. I mean, other stratagems on top of it might make it even worse. Yeah, I like that combination. So that's my favourite one in that one. Storm's Wrath bolts. When you give a model this relic, select one bolt weapon. See Codex Space Marines. Oh yeah, because I mentioned that in the Space Marine review that it does go into specific supplement stuff. Yeah, that model is equipped with. When the bearer shoots with the weapon, you can choose for it to fire Storm Wrath bolt. If you do, you can make 1 attack with this weapon, but the weapon has a strength characteristic of 7 and an armor penetration of -1 for that attack. Interesting, I would say that it would still get, if it's like tactical, if it counts as a bolt weapon, then you'd still benefit from, if it's heavy and the Devastator one, you'd still get the -1, and you'd still get the -1 if it's a rapid or assault bolter in the tactical doctrine. I'd still say you get it because the profile becomes -1, and then you'd get the benefit from it. Just something on top of my head. If the target of, in addition, if the target of that attack is a monster, the weapon has a damage characteristic of D6. So essentially giving up, maybe you take a Storm Bolter and you're like, oh, I don't want to put out that many shots. I'll choose a single shot, strength 7, -1 AP, maybe -2, and if it's a monster, D6 damage. That could be, a tricky wee situation, but might turn out quite good. The last one is the Cyber Ego Helm. When resolving an Overwatch attack made by a model in a friendly chapter unit within 6 inches of a model from your army with this relic, hits a hit roll of 5 or 6 is a score of a hit. So Overwatch protection there if you want a backfield guy. I'm going to stand by my Mastercrafted weapon along with Hunter's Instincts, along with the Devastator charge. That's going to be a deadly wee combination. I'm sure David will use it against me or Rob very, very shortly. Stratagems, Born in the Saddle. Yeah, let's go into stratagems, which ones I like best. So there's quite a few when it comes to White Scars. Born in the Saddle, use stratagem when a White Scars biker unit from your army advances, the unit can still shoot. 1 command point, fine. Imagine you're still going to have all your modifiers in that one. Heavy if you move, you basically still suffer the effects of moving. Assault is the same in that one. So yeah, it's just simply that if, for instance, heavy or bolt, rapid fire stuff you wouldn't be able to shoot, you can. The modifiers, I imagine, do apply. Butchered Quarry, use a stratagem when an enemy unit falls back within 1 inch of an White Scars infantry or biker unit from your army before it moves. Select one White Scars unit that is not within 1 inch of any other enemy units. Each model in the selected unit can make 1 attack with a melee weapon against the enemy unit as if it was within 1 inch. After these attacks are made, if that enemy unit is not destroyed, it can then fall back move. After it's moved, each model in the selected unit can move up to 3 inches as long as they end up a move closer to the enemy unit and not within 1 inch of an enemy move. So essentially, a bit more movement, a bit more attack. It's 1 command point, just means you get a wee bit of a grab at an enemy who's trying to get away. So overall, not bad. Wind Swift, use the stratagem in the movement phase after White Scars unit from your army is moved. The unit can move a second time in this phase, but can only advance as part of that move phase if it has not already advanced, so no advancing twice. The unit cannot shoot, make a charge move, or attempt to make a psychic power. It's 2 command points, a bit heavy, but it just means if you want a huge amount of mobility, that is, for White Scars, think on bikes, that's 28-inch move, and you do get 1 advanced roll on that one as well. You can't really do anything for the rest of the turn. It just means if you really need to get onto a point, you're going to get it. Maybe you've got supremacy or something you really need to get, book it, 2 command points, you'll maybe get it. Lightning Disembarkation. Use a stratagem in the movement phase after White Scars transport from your army that does not have the flyer battlefield roll moves. White Scars units embarked aboard the unit can immediately disembark, but any of the do so cannot make a charge action. That's one command point. I think that's going to be good for some shooting units. Some shooting units are going to be protected by transports, and then the transports are going to move them into rapid fire range, maybe Hellblasters who want to be aggressive, jump out and then fire away. It doesn't say you can't not move, so then you can disembark, move, and just start gunning down. I think for one command point that is very good, and I would love to see it in other codexes because it's really, really good. Fierce Rivalries, where is that one? Use a stratagem at the start of your charge phase. This first time you make a charge roll for a White Scars unit from your army, that phase, roll 3d6 instead of 2d6 and discard one of the results. 3d6 charge, essentially, discard one. Yeah, not bad. It has to be the first unit, so make sure they are the first unit charging. Fainting Withdrawal. Use this stratagem when a White Scars unit from your army falls back. That unit can still shoot this turn. Say your Hellblasters got charged and you're like, there's still some left, I'm going to get them to shoot. Fall back and shoot. So that's really nice to have on that one as well. Yep. The Eternal Hunt. So here we go, I've got a large section of this one. 2 command points. Use a stratagem at the start of the movement phase if the Assault Doctrine is active. Until the start of the next battle round, when resolving an attack made with pistol or melee weapon by White Scars model from your army, on an unmodified roll of 6, the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon is improved by an additional 1 for that attack. You can use the stratagem once per battle. So that's an important thing to speak about here, and I remember why I wrote a lot about this, is that the doctrines, and I may have not mentioned this when I reviewed the Codex, the doctrines, when you use them, they essentially add -1 to your AP in the various ways they can, but they cannot culminate, and they use a Warlord trait to say that they can't culminate. Dave said, oh, but the Warlord trait isn't a rule or an ability. And I say, yeah, fair enough, it's not an ability, but they say a Warlord trait specifically can't. So I'd say stratagems can't affect it either. This one pretty much is designed to work with it. It's the only situation it would work would be the Assault Doctrine, but it says specifically in the doctrines that additional modifiers can't help. You lose the Doctrine one if you have any further abilities that augment your AP. So why would they do that for this one? So what I'd say in that is that, yeah, I think that's a bit of a mistake in that one. It should have a light in saying this does work in culmination with the Assault Doctrine as well. I could be wrong in that one. Maybe there's situations where the Assault Doctrine would not apply, but I think it needs that sentence because otherwise, technically, it does not apply. That 2 command, you can't use this stratagem. I could be wrong in that one. It just doesn't work. So it's very, very important that they maybe add that line into, because it says specifically, unless it says, which this one does not say, it works with it, you can't use it. And I'd say, no, you can't use it. Rules is written, but I think rules is intended, it should be usable. And it's very, very important. But it does mean that your units in the assault phase, unmodified roll of 6 to wounds, would get an additional -1 after all your other ones on top of it as well. So yeah, that's quite good on that one as well. And I think that's quite good. Encirclement, use a stratagem during deployment, but before setting up a White Scars unit from your army. You can set up that unit in the outflank instead of setting it up on the battlefield. If you do so at the end of the movement phases, you can set up that unit wholly within 6 inches of any battlefield edge and more than 9 inches away from an enemy model. Your standards of sneak in, deploy, imagine it's going to be turn 2 as per usual when you're doing that sort of sneaking. But yeah, it just means you can be closer. So one thing that White Scars don't struggle with is probably getting close. So whether there'll be any use or not, dependent, but it might be quite good in itself. But yeah, that's 1 command point on there. So that's what I think stratagems. There's plenty of them. Next up, let's go into psychic abilities, and overall, actually quite good. I think overall they've been quite good. So we have Blasting Gale. Blasting Gale has a warp charge of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, the unit cannot advance, and when they make a charge roll, roll 1 for your d6 to a minimum of 1d6. Typically, this will mean the charge range will be 1d6 instead of 2d6. So that's quite good. It's an 18-inch range, so most things are going to, move up 6-7 inches, and then they might be within a range. But then to deny them a dice to charge is going to really make people go, oh, that's not fun. David thinks, oh, that's going to be really tasty, and it might be pretty good. I think overall it's a solid psychic ability and one that can really hamper an opponent. Ride the Wing wins. That is a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select one friendly White Scars unit within 12 inches of the Psyker till the start of your psychic phase. When an advance roll or charge roll is made for the unit, add 2 to the result. Easier charge, easier advance. What's not to love? Storm Wreathed. Storm Wreathed has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select one friendly White Scars unit within 12 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch, so Overwatch denial. And after that unit finishes charge phase, for each module in that unit, you can select one enemy unit within 1 inch of the module and roll a d6. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers a wound, a mortal wound. Yeah, okay, not bad. You know, denying Overwatch is essentially, you know, good, which is really, really ideal. And mortal wounds on top, it's not bad. It's warp charge of 6, so I can see that being pretty solid. Spirit of Chorgoris. I might have murdered that there. Warp charge of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the Psyker until the start of the next psychic phase. Subtract 1 from leadership characteristic of that unit. Meh. And when resolving an attack made by a model in the unit, subtract 1 to hit. Excellent, making the unit less reliable. And finally we have the Eye of the Storm, which is sort of an AoE effect here. Has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 12 inches of the Psyker, adding 1 to the result if they have fly. On a 4+, that unit suffers mortal wound. If the unit adding 1 to the result if they're fly, so it'd be 3+ for mortal wound, 4+ for most units. So you have lots of multiple units around you. You have a bunch of characters around you. Yeah, it just means that on 4+, you can make them cause a mortal wound. It's warp charge 6, so it's cheap. There might be better ones out there, but overall, I think it's not bad. I like AoE effects. It works for Necrons well, though they have a better one. But that one may be solid, but situational in on itself. So that's kind of my thoughts when it comes to the White Scars Codex supplement. Is it essential for White Scars? I'm going to say yeah. There's too much variety in it. Loads of relics, loads of stratagems. The cannon bike with combinations is absolutely deadly. And generally, if you are going down the White Scars route, solid addition. There's good psychic abilities, good strat. I mean, generally, I'm quite impressed with it. It knows what it wants to do and does it well, and just adds a lot more flavour when it comes to playing a White Scars or their successor Chapter. And so I'm quite happy with it and intrigued to see what people think and the combinations they can bring. i.e. I'm just worried what David's going to bring when he brings his White Scars next on the table, along with a new Space Marine Codex and a White Scars Codex supplement. So thanks again for watching. Please comment, share, like and subscribe. What do you think of White Scars? Are they the new be-all end-all Space Marines? Let me know, I'm interested to find out. Certainly they do add a lot more variety when it comes to the ways you are going to play Space Marines. Check us out on social media, see current projects we are working on. I'm on a few at the moment. I'm trying to finish up one at the moment that's taking a lot of time. And check us out on Patreon to help support the channel, bring you more content, because we absolutely love doing so. So thanks again, and we'll see you on our Tabletop Assault Battle Reports.